Beautiful day to you, beloved. I am Sagittarius Miraculi, and welcome to the first moment of the rest of your life, and welcome to the first moment of the best of your life. I'm going to talk to you today about Mercury in retrograde Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Cancer, which happened on the 7th of June. That is in this U.S. area. Other parts of the world maybe a day later. And also the full moon in Sagittarius. And that full moon in Sagittarius is actually today, which is June the 12th. And it also is the 13th, which is Friday the 13th in some of the other parts of the world. Before I get into the specifics of this information, I want to share a tone to help balance the frequencies. I always look forward to gathering up these energies in a good way, allowing them to be servant unto us rather than master over us. So I offer these tones for the balancing of the energies of Mercury retrograde and the energies of this full moon in Sagittarius. Mercury retrograde. The first thing that we want to do is to bring some really positive energy, positive intention, to allow the Mercury retrograde energy to work for us in a good way. This Mercury retrograde, which, as I said, came in on the 7th of June in this U.S. area anyway, pretty close in most other areas, in the sign of Cancer, 3 degrees of Cancer. You know, Mercury is the planet of mind, speech, and communication. And when Mercury has to filter through Cancer, it operates in a very emotional way. So there's a lot of emotional sensitivity that we'll be dealing with in this Mercury retrograde energy. In general, when the planet Mercury is retrograde, things of a logistical nature tend to get a little bit off center. You know, appointments get mixed up, plans, fall through. It's an energy that actually is turning inward. You know, Mercury retrograde is about looking within ourselves. It's also about dealing with the unfinished business of life. You know, what is it that has not been resolved? What is it that you've been leaving on the back burner? This Mercury retrograde also has a strong resonance with the Grand Cardinal Cross that came to an apex on the 23rd of April, this 2014. And that was where there were 4 planets at 13 degrees of the cardinal signs: Pluto 13 degrees of Capricorn, Jupiter 13 degrees of Cancer, Uranus 13 degrees of Aries, and Mars 13 degrees of Libra. So this particular Mercury retrograde, being as though it is in the cardinal sign of Cancer, is bringing about a greater amplification of that Grand Cardinal Cross. Also, Mercury went retrograde at 3 degrees of Cancer, while the moon was at 5 degrees of Libra, which is another cardinal sign, meaning that this Mercury retrograde is in a square with the moon in Libra. So this brings about even a greater emotional amplification. Now, Mercury in retrograde in Cancer by itself would bring about a great deal of emotionality and emotional experiences. However, with it squaring the moon at the same time, that is even a greater measure of emotional activation. So this is going to be a very emotionally sensitive cycle, this Mercury retrograde. And basically that means that whatever you're dealing with in this cycle emotionally will tend to seem to be much larger than it actually is, which is also emphasized by the Grand Cardinal Cross, where Jupiter was in the sign of Cancer. There was also an expansion of the emotionality. So it's going to require a tremendous amount of patience. Whatever emotional unfinished business you have has to be dealt with. If there's anything that you've been attempting to emotionally escape, if you've been trying to avoid emotional honesty, it's a time when you can be forced into dealing with emotional honesty. Mercury is the planet that rules transportation, it rules cars, it rules driving. So you may find that there's a lot of emotional sensitivity when you're out on the road driving. So you want to be as patient as you possibly can with other drivers, patient with yourself, and doing everything that you can do to maintain your sense of centeredness and also focusing, because driving is not particularly an emotional experience. It's more so an experience that connects with the mind and mental decisiveness and paying attention. So you want to stay focused on attention and attention to what it is that you're doing, and also not letting yourself get drawn into emotional upset by what other drivers may be doing. Very powerful energies that we're dealing with. When Mercury is in retrograde in Cancer, there's also an opportunity to address some of the shadow emotions, the emotions that are off center. I know I personally went through some experiences from this where, these energies sort of grabbed me in the collar and slammed me up against the wall for a moment. And fortunately, I kept diligent with my spiritual practice and was able to, find my way back to center fairly quickly. But for a moment, it was very intense. And so one of the things that tends to happen is when you're addressing the emotional shadows or the emotional difficulties is that things seem to be momentarily insurmountable. Well, they're really not, but they momentarily seem to be. I know in my particular case, it was something that was getting me to really pay attention to the fact that I have to be diligent about my spiritual practice. I cannot be laxed in that, and to bring forth everything that I know to bring forth to the table in order to maintain my emotional centeredness. And thank God I found my way back to center, but for a moment it just seemed, like emotionally crazy and difficult. Another thing that comes up with this Mercury retrograde energy is dealing with the shadow of impatience. Impatience is a form of fear, the fear that if things don't happen immediately, they won't happen at all. Don't let yourself get caught in impatience. Impatience is not your ally. Impatience will never facilitate you in getting the things that you want. It brings in this energy of urgency, but in that urgency, all of your attention is focused upon the absence of what it is that you want, and so you're not really a magnetic force for attracting to yourself the things that are important to you. So don't let impatience, bully you. Impatience is a kind of a bully, you might say, and it definitely won't help you get what it is that you want, okay? This is also a time when you will be addressing your emotional sensitivity. The tendency to have hurt feelings, may be a little bit stronger than usual. It's a time also for looking at the nurturing of your life. Are you receiving that nurturing that you want? And are you doing things that help to facilitate your receiving that nurturing? And having an opportunity to look at what it is that you may be doing that blocks you from receiving the nurturing that you are looking for. It's also a time for connecting with the inner mother, the inner nurturer. How nurturing are you unto yourself? How nurturing are you unto others? And how receptive are you and allowing are you of letting others bring in the nurturing, letting others nurture you? Because when you really want to be nurtured by others, the first step is you allow that into being. The field of nurturing is an infinite field that is always there. But we have to be of the vibrational frequency that is in alignment with nurturing for it to become a reality of expression in our own life. So be receptive to being nurtured and rock your inner baby. You might have to take your inner child in your arms and just rock it. And that's really powerful. If you become a little bit fearful during this cycle, if you can remember that you have the power of the divine parent within you that has the capacity to bring comfort to the little inner child. So rock your inner baby. This is something that is really, really important. So because feelings are so much of an emphasis during this particular Mercury retrograde cycle, I want to share with you my poem from my book, MercuryCancer, Song of Ascension. This one I call From Stinking Thinking to Revealing Feeling. The things I know by what I think are partly good and they partly stink. Not a bad start, but partly sealed. Truth of the head is half revealed. What was the bid when I was a little kid? If I want to be smart, then learn it by heart. What a dread when I learned it by head, for in all my learning I woke up dead. How can my truth be alive and real unless it's truth that I can feel? Down the highway of ignorance and strife, mere thinking was at the wheel of my life. Intellect was wheeling and dealing, but now I'm chauffeured by my feeling. I don't mind showing what's inside. We are all one. Why should I hide? When I do, from me I steal, for I can't heal what I won't reveal. I can't heal what I'm unwilling to feel. So life, mother of all good things, thanks for the wisdom feeling brings. In feeling there is nothing new except that which my soul once knew. From stinking thinking to revealing feeling, let's all open up and have a healing. And so, beloved, you want to really recognize the ally that your feelings can be unto you. Feelings are very powerful in the sense that they are an access code to being. In many respects, feelings are a lot closer to being than thinking is. When you feel something, you are joined at the hip. You can think about something from a completely objective space and be separate from what you're thinking about. But when you feel, you're at one with that which you are feeling. So feeling resonates with being. So feeling is also an access code to God. So you want to learn to feel a deep sense of safety with your feelings. And with Mercury in Cancer being retrograde, this is one of the things that is having to be absolutely addressed right now, and especially with Mercury squaring the moon in Libra. Now, with it being in Libra, this is a strong focus of relationships. You know, how are you dealing with your relationships? And are you coming from a place of emotional honesty in your relationships? I call it sacred guts on the table. When you are able to or willing to come from a place of emotional honesty in your relationships, then you're able to bring them to a place of richness, even if that emotional honesty reflects some of the difficulty or the challenges. Much like, you know, the fertilizer of life. It is waste. You know, it is glorified shit doodle. And yet you take this glorified shit, you place it on the soil, and the soil yields richer crops, not in spite of the waste, but because of the waste. So whatever difficulties may show up in your life, you want to yield richer crops within your life because of those difficulties. Not in spite of them, but let them become servant unto you. This is a time to become truly empowered. There may be moments of really addressing things that are very scary, and I can tell you that they're going to seem to be larger than what they actually are. Stay diligent with your spiritual practice, whatever it is that you do to keep yourself in center, your meditation, your affirmations, your positive visualization, you know, your consulting with those who can be a catalyst of upliftment for you. You want to deal with all of that. And let this Mercury retrograde cycle be servant unto you. So Mercury will go direct on the 1st of July. And then there's a shadow reflection phase from the 1st of July until the 15th of July. And that is when Mercury crosses over the exact degree that it was when it originally went retrograde. So there's this kind of a sub-cycle of the Mercury retrograde that goes from July the 1st until July the 15th. You know, it's not as intense as the actual Mercury retrograde cycle, but it is a cycle to be aware of, the shadow reflection cycle of it. Now, on June the 12th, there is a full moon in Sagittarius, and in many parts of the world it falls on June the 13th, which happens to be Friday the 13th. Now there's that energy of the 13 coming in again, and so this full moon also activates a lot of the resonance of the Grand Cardinal Cross, where those 4 planets were at 13 degrees. Friday the 13th has always been a very powerful day. It is not evil, it is not negative. However, it is extremely powerful. If you bring negative energy to it, it will amplify that negativity. If you bring positive energy to it, it will amplify that positive energy. So you want to really utilize the frequency of Friday the 13th as well as this full moon energy that is right within, you know, that same time frame. This full moon at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, which is interesting. 2 and 2 is 4, and then the 13, 1 and 3 is 4. So there's another correlation, and 22 is a master number. with this full moon at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, that means then that the sun is 22 degrees of Gemini in the opposite sign. And so the full moon energy is always another experience of dealing with expanded emotionality, expanded emotional sensitivity. It is also a time of great power. If we bring divine intention to these energies, it becomes a time of becoming tremendously empowered, and that's what we want to do with these energies. The other thing about this particular full moon is that it makes a T-square with both the sun and the moon squaring Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, which is in the sign of Pisces. So this full moon is going to have a lot of energy around sometimes going through healing crisis, looking at who you are as a healer. What is it that you're offering to others in a healing way, and are you offering that in a balanced way, making sure that you're not too extreme in the sharing of healing with others, that to the extent that you become a rescuer, where you're sinking your own ship to keep everybody else afloat, because that would not be to your advantage. So bring good energies to these vibrations, and I'm going to offer some didgeridoo now to set the intention for even more balance. As I play the didgeridoo, I'd like for you to focus upon the positive and constructive things that you would like for this energy to do for you, and to bring that energy into service unto the highest intentions of your life. Oh, my beloveds, thank you so much for sharing this moment of sacred space with me. Thank you for using these energies in a good way, making these energies servant unto you. It is so, so beautiful. I am Astarius Miraculi. My website is astarius.com, astarius.com. Located in the Los Angeles area, California, USA, and available for psychic astrology readings and sound healings and Reiki trainings and all of those things. And I've got a number of CDs as well as a couple of books. So be sure and go to my website and partake of all of the treasures that I have to offer and partner with me in continuing to put all of this energy out there so that I can do my part in helping to serve and empower you and me and all of the beloveds in our great planet. For those of you who might be in the Denver, Colorado area, I am going to be circling through there, doing a concert, a wonderful summer solstice concert, a bliss wave concert focusing strongly upon the resonance of bliss, featuring the didgeridoo and vocal harmonics, and also spirit rap chanting. That'll be on Friday, June the 20th, actually in Conifer, Colorado, which is in the Denver area up in the mountains. And this is at Taspin's Organics and Holistic Wellness Center. You know, you can reserve your space if you want to be there. Call 303-638-3374. And then on the 21st, I will be doing an Ascension Marriage to Self ceremonial seminar. We'll be doing some amazing things, all day long seminar. So if you want to keep sacred company with me and enjoy some of the transformation that I bring in the one-on-one dynamic, you know, in circle, then I would love to see you there. Up at the top, there's room for all. It is just a bottom that's crowded, y'all. I love you so much and look forward to the next adventure that we share. Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, In Lakesh, Alak In, Shalom, Satnam, Hariom.